Good evening, everyone, and a warm welcome to this webinar on the Safe Soil Movement. My name is Maya. I'm a full-time volunteer with Conscious Planet, which is an initiative launched by Sadhguru and supported by eminent leaders and influencers such as Jane Goodall, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, Deepak Chopra, Tony Robbins, Mark Benioff, and prestigious organizations like the UN Convention to Combat Desertification, the World Food Programme, the Food and Agriculture Organization, and the UN Environmental Protection Programme, including the International Union for Conservation of Nature and the World Economic Forum, to name a few. The aim of Conscious Planet is to create a global movement that is called the Save Soil Movement, to inform and educate at least 3.5 billion people about the alarming condition of our soil and the threatening crisis that is ahead of us, and garner everyone's support to effect the necessary policy changes towards soil restoration. Now, before we start, before looking at more details on what Safe Soil is all about, I would like to ask you a few simple questions. So you can respond in the chat box with a yes or a no. The first question: did you know that soil accounts for about 40% of the climate change issue, but receives about 4 to 5 climate change budget making? Sorry, it forms 40% of the climate change issue and receives only 4 to 5% of the climate change budget. So this makes it the most overlooked problem. Did you know that? Yes or no? You can put it in the chat box. We'll just wait for a few answers to come in. Okay, some of you do know, some don't. So if you know, it's wonderful to be aware of this issue. Um, we will move to the second question. Did you know that the nutritional content of agricultural produce has gone down substantially, up to 40% or even more in the US, subsequently causing a decline in people's health? So again, yes or no in the chat box. Some of you are saying yes. If you are saying no. And now the third question. Did you know that we are facing the biggest food crisis in the history of our world? What research is saying is that by 2045, about 1.7 billion people are expected to die of hunger. What is 1.7 billion? It is equivalent to the entire population of the Western world. Imagine the deaths of everyone in all the countries of North and South America, as well as European countries. This is the severity of the situation. So, again, if you knew this, yes or no? Few answers are coming in. Okay. So I would like to say a bit about my experience. Up until a couple of years ago, I was not aware of how severe the soil situation is and what big a threat it was. A lot of people today are not aware of the crisis, or at least of the severity of the crisis that is right under our feet. So before we go any further today, I would like us to watch together a short video where Sadhguru brings into perspective various facts on soil and what situations can make a difference towards these challenges. So if you have already seen this video, please watch it again with us as it brings understanding of what the Safe Soil Initiative is all about. So we watch it together.
We are talking about climate change, carbon emissions, and global warming and various other aspects, but we are not addressing soil. Soil is the habitat upon which zillions of lives thrive. Once there is no richness in soil, then you have forsaken the planet in many ways. Every responsible scientist in the world and the UN agencies are clearly saying we have only 80 to 100 harvests left. That means approximately 45 to 50 years of agricultural soil left on the planet. By 2045, we will be producing 40% less food than what we are producing right now, and our populations will be 9.3 billion people. The food shortages that could manifest in the next 25 years, the consequences of that is unimaginable. Civil wars will unfold across the world once there is food shortage. What we are facing now is soil extinction. Why is soil becoming extinct? Where is it going away? What is happening to our soil? We must understand, if you add organic content to sand, sand will turn into soil. If you remove all organic content from the soil, soil will become sand. In normal agricultural soil, the minimum organic content should be between 3 to 6%. The most minimum is 3%. At least this minimum to keep the soil alive, to keep the soil as living soil is a must. Agricultural soils across the world, the depletion is so heavy. In most countries, more than 50% of the topsoil is already gone in the last 100 years. the nutrient levels have dropped significantly. The level of micronutrients you would get from your food in early 20th century to what you are getting from the same food now has dropped 90%. If you ate one orange in 1920s, what you got from it, now in 2020, if you have to get the same, you will have to eat 8 oranges. This is what we have done to our food.
Soil is the biggest ecosystem on the planet, and so few people know anything about it. 1 teaspoon of healthy soil probably contains more microbes than there are people on Earth.
The microbial life in the first 12 to 15 inches of topsoil is the basis of our existence. It is this magic beneath our feet which has produced the life that we are. This first 12 to 15 inches of soil is the basis of life for 87% of life on this planet, including you and me.
We have to begin to recognize that what we call our soil, Mother Earth, is a living organism.
Open soils, ripped open by plowing, open to sunlight, is the basis of destruction of microbial life. So the focus should be on agriculture, the focus should be on seeing that land is under shade as much as possible, some kind of shade, grasses, herbs, bushes, trees. Conscious Planet is launching Save Soil movement to bring about a policy change to regenerate soil. As a part of this, I'm 65 and I'm riding 30,000 kilometers, a lone motorcycle journey, 30,000 kilometers across 24 nations to activate support from the citizenry to assure the governments long-term investments will be appreciated. So it's extremely important that soil regeneration is enshrined in the policy of every government on the planet. We must change the narrative on the planet that soil is a wealth, a legacy we have received from previous generations, and we have to pass it on as living soil for future generations. We are in a cusp of time. If you do the right things now, in the next 15 to 25 years, we can significantly turn this situation around and regenerate the soil. But if we allow this to progress like this for another 30 to 40 years, after 40 years if we attempt this, then it could take 150 to 200 years because that much loss of biodiversity would have happened. From 21st of March for 100 days, the whole world, every human being on the planet should talk soil. We must hear the word soil, save soil everywhere to see that the narrative on the planet changes towards the most vital aspect of our life, the soil. Each one of you should reach as many people as you can to make this happen. Many global leaders and influencers are already participating in the movement. Be a part of this and let us make it happen.
From my part, as much as I can contribute.
We're going to save the soil. Do your part.
And saving the soils.
Our future, our children's future, and our planet's future depend on it.
Save the soil.
We know what we must do, so let's make it happen.
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 Now, there are many unique aspects to the Safe Soil movement, and one aspect of today's webinar is we would like to clarify what are a few of these aspects of this movement. The most important aspect is people's support, as this is a global movement. So the Safe Soil movement aims at changing the narrative about soil across the world by inspiring at least 3.5 billion people, which represents about 60% of the world's electorate, to seek and inspire the necessary policy changes that enhance or increase the organic content of the soil up to a minimum of 3%. How this can happen It's basically through mass support to bring it into the various manifestos of key political parties and into government policies. Now, who can be a part of this movement? Anybody who consumes food. Food comes from the soil. So anybody who eats food can be a part of the movement. And this is an all-inclusive movement. We are not interested in being against anyone. It is not a protest. It is not an agitation. And it is not activism. This movement is to bring awareness about the issue that impacts all of us, future generations, and our children. And only if a large enough number of people, only if a critical mass of people support long-term action plans, will governments start working towards national policy changes. The second aspect is, of course, policy changes, which we mentioned earlier. So the first one is that we are asking for a global policy change, and Sadhguru mentioned that soil should have a minimum of 3% of organic content in it. You may wonder, why is having a policy so important? What is the significance of a policy? In many ways, a policy predetermines the course of action, and it sets the guidelines towards certain objectives. It is the only way to ensure that soils remain healthy for generations to come, leaving behind a planet capable of producing nutritious food and align human activity to be supportive of nature and every life on this planet. So how does it work? We'll look at an example. In the mid-70s, scientists warned that man-made chemicals such as chlorofluorocarbons or CFCs in everyday products like aerosols, fridges, air conditioners were harming the ozone layer. You remember that time where everybody was talking about the ozone layer? The ozone is that layer of atmosphere that protects us from the sun UV rays, which is one of the main reasons of skin cancer. So in 1985, a hole was confirmed in the ozone layer over Antarctica and was rapidly growing in size. The future could have been bleak with skin cancers, dying vegetation, and damaged ecosystems worldwide. But in 1987, 197 countries came together and agreed to ban ozone-depleting chemicals by signing the Montreal Protocol. This policy has led to phasing out 99% of ozone-depleting chemicals. And today, the ozone layer is recovering, and at current estimates, the hole will close completely around the middle of this century. So this is why it is important to have a global policy such as the one Sadhguru mentioned. Soil should have a minimum of 3% organic matter in it. Now, the third aspect of this movement is that we are not advocating a particular solution. So while Sadhguru is clearly saying that land needs to be under shade, we are not advocating any particular solution, because for each country's solutions will be different and will depend upon the latitude, climate, economic conditions, traditional practices that are in practice in this country. So many organizations have taken successful steps to improve soil quality. Nevertheless, degradation is still happening at a growing pace. In the past, civilizations like the Mayas, the Romans, Mesopotamian civilizations disappeared due to soil degradation. So efforts such as composting, recycling, using renewable energy, reducing water waste, offsetting carbon footprint, they are needed, but they will not solve the immensity of the crisis that is ahead of us. This is an imminent crisis that needs an intervention at a much larger scale. So how did Sadhguru arrive at this solution? Sadhguru has a track record of implementing large-scale policy changes. For the past 4 decades, he has been relentlessly working towards solutions for the environment. We would like to invite all of you who are here to check the website for details about other social outreach initiatives that have been initiated by Sadhguru and that are currently under execution, including Project Green Hands, Rally for Rivers, Cavalry Calling, to name a few. Now, the big question is, what can you do? How can you help? The question is always, I'm only one voice. How can I impact the whole world? It is true, each one of us is only one voice, but if all of us come together, we will make a difference. However, if we all choose to remain silent, nothing will happen. So each and every single one of us is one small step towards change and one small step towards the solution. So we can make a choice whether we want to be a part of the problem or a part of the solution. So we trust that your choice will be to be a part of the solution, securing, ensuring food security for our future generations, because this is one of the biggest threats that is imposed on us through the degradation of soil, that our children may not be able to eat. Now, what can you do? How can you help? The first step to support is, of course, to be aware of the imminence and of the immensity of the crisis. So you can make sure that you know enough about the subject to be able to talk to somebody for 1 minute about it. Okay, we're not asking you to become soil health experts, but at least you should know enough about the crisis to be able to bring it up to somebody else and make them aware of it. So you can make people aware about the problem, about the Safe Soil movement, and how they can join and be a part of it. There's the Conscious Planet website, that is consciousplanet.org, where we are including and we are constantly enriching the website with a variety of content about soil, data, and what kind of difference soil rejuvenation can make in future generations. You can also invite your friends and family to similar live webinars that we are doing so that they can be in turn informed of the crisis and how the movement can be a support in that direction. Now, we are also opening up everybody to take the next step in their involvement by signing up as Earth Buddies. So the volunteers will display the slide on the screen. How to sign up as an Earth Buddy. So it's simple. For a minimum of 10 minutes a day, if you can do 20, it would be wonderful. But for a minimum of 10 minutes a day, as an Earth Buddy, you can create awareness in your own circles of friends, family, colleagues, neighbors, acquaintances, people on the street about the condition of soil. You can also follow Sadhguru for his 100-day motorcycle journey. So to raise awareness of this movement, Sadhguru will take a journey from London to southern India, crossing over 25 countries, and to bring meeting eminent leaders, people, influencers, and people who can effect policy changes along the way. We are talking 30,000 kilometers, that is 18,000 miles, 100 days, over 25 countries, probably over 30 countries. And as a lone motorcyclist, to raise awareness about the problem. So you can follow Sadhguru on his 100-day motorcycle journey and amplify all the content that will be shared during this journey. By posting, commenting, liking, sharing, tweeting, retweeting, and you can use the hashtag #SaveSoil wherever you can. You can also reshare and retweet global authorities, celebrities, or fellow volunteers who share posts with the hashtag #SaveSoil. So we have posted the relevant social media handles on the screen, so you can make note of them, or you can take a screenshot, whichever way you prefer. So in many ways, Sadhguru is sticking his neck out to bring the heads of states and influencers together and to build the movement amongst people. Each and every one of us is needed for this. We need to do whatever we can to change the course of this planet. This is a historic moment, and we have the privilege and the possibility to be a part of it. We also invite all of you to be more creative. Get out of the box. Craft a text or video message that you can send to your friends, family, people you know, talking about why are you interested in safe soil. If you're an artist, you can create artistic content about it. It can be serious, funny, or heartfelt, long or short, but it should always be sincere. Make sure that you include a link to the website so people are well informed and so people can read on the issue themselves. We have also made available a social media toolkit on the Conscious Planet website. This has all the information that you need to create an account, create and share your own posts, how to connect with others. It is for beginners, intermediates, but also pros. And there will also be a referral mechanism on the website. So we hope that we've given you all the information that you need to know. I will just take a minute to look at some of the comments that are coming. So volunteers on the chat window, volunteers are posting the various links that you can make use of, where you will get the necessary resources to support you to take the message across. Okay. I don't see any critical questions, at least on the channels I'm on. So as I mentioned, I can see some comments, mentioning about avoiding certain agricultural products and their production. As we mentioned earlier, we are not here to advocate one particular solution. The solution for different countries, depending on their resources, depending on their situation, depending on where they are located, the various agricultural practices in those areas, the quality of life, what they can afford, the solutions will be different from country to country. So right now, the most imminent step is to make the problem clear. Make sure that at least 3.5 billion people on the planet know that there is an imminent crisis and that something needs to be done immediately towards it. As Sadhguru said, if we act immediately, we can make a difference in a few decades' time. But if we wait longer, it may take centuries for us to make a difference, because the degradation of the soil will become much, much more dramatic, basically. So again, just a reminder that we are not trying to advocate or to come against any particular practices or any particular people or any particular efforts. The whole point right now is not to turn against somebody. At the opposite, the point right now is to get together as one voice, standing up for our soil, to ensure that at least next generations have food on their table to eat. Because the moment food becomes scarce, what can happen socially can be a big disaster that is ahead of us. So we hope that we provided all the information to you. Once you sign up, so if you sign up as an Earth Body on the website, you will receive. So yes, day before yesterday, on February 13th, Sadhguru actually had a webinar with Sadhguru had a webinar with all the meditators and various people and various Earth bodies who joined the movement. And he spoke about the nature of the crisis, what is ahead of us, and how each one of us can be a part of the solution. Now, the good news is that this video has been recorded and it's being made available for another few hours today. So if you sign up as an Earth Body immediately after the webinar, you could catch up and you could watch what Sadhguru has spoken about the matter. So we'd like to encourage all of you who are interested to be a part of this movement to join as Earth Bodies. It takes only 10 minutes a day, but the kind of difference it can make is phenomenal. We are empowered with social media that really can allow one person to speak to billions of people across the world. So let's make use of technology towards a cause that will enhance the lives to come in a phenomenal way. And as an Earth Body, you can make a tremendous difference in how far and how wide this movement reaches. So we hope this webinar was supportive for you, that it brought enough clarity. And if you have any questions, if you need any support, there's the Conscious Planet website that you can visit. Volunteers have posted the link in the chat. And we look forward to working with you. And it is our privilege to be a part of this. It's a phenomenal thing to be a part of an effort that can really make a difference, not only on ourselves, on our generation, but on the generations to come. So thank you very much for being here with us today. And we hope we get to work together with you in the future towards the future of our planet and humanity at large. Thank you very much.
Look around you. Everything you see came from the soil, whether it was mined and extracted or grown and processed. Human civilization is built on the foundation of soil, both figuratively and literally. Yet, how much do we give back? Globally, soil fertility is plummeting, with 1/3 of global soils already considered to be degraded. While many suggest we start looking for a new planet to ruin, I mean colonize, I suggest we learn how to take better care of what we already have. The good news is that healthy soils not only provide all we need, but they also help solve many issues human society has created. Earth is filled with carbon-based life forms, and most of that carbon is CO2 pulled from the atmosphere and used to build the roots, stems, trunks, leaves, every part of every plant. Not only do plants sequester carbon in their structure, they also deliver large amounts of carbon to the microcosmos of organisms that live in the soil, organisms that modern farming practices destroy. The largest known release of CO2 comes each year when farmers around the world till their soil, ripping huge wounds in the skin of the earth and spewing out plumes of greenhouse gases that can be seen from space. Conversely, the greatest reduction in global CO2 emissions are seen when crops in those same fields begin to sprout in spring. What if we encouraged farmers around the world to adopt soil-friendly farming practices? Could the soil absorb all the carbon that humans emit? We've done the calculations, and earthworms alone gobble up and sequester in their fertile excrement the entire amount of CO2 in the atmosphere every 4 years. Worldwide, soil is estimated to contain nearly 1,000 times more carbon than in the atmosphere. What's the difference between sand and soil? Black, fertile carbon. We aim to prove that harmonizing global farming practices with the natural carbon cycles can not only neutralize human carbon emissions, but it would revitalize and restore the fertility of our soils in the process. We don't need expensive new technology to solve some of our biggest issues. We simply need to shift our practices to harmonize with a planet that has already figured out how to sustainably support life harmoniously.
Ooh.